It was supposed to be a routine delivery. At a small-town K9 training facility, a German shepherd gave birth to 6 puppies. But when the 6 emerged, the room fell silent. He wasn't breathing at first. Then he gasped, slowly, sharply, and opened his eyes. They weren't blue, not brown, but a piercing, unnatural gray, like storm clouds gathering. Dr. Lydia Hayes, a senior veterinarian with over 15 years of experience in working dog genetics, froze mid-motion. She had seen thousands of puppies, but never anything like this. He was smaller than the rest, but not weak. His body temperature was slightly elevated. His pulse, incredibly strong. His coat had a strange shimmer under the clinic's fluorescent lights. And then there was his stare, unblinking, direct, and disturbingly aware. Tests began immediately. Blood samples showed anomalies. Reflexes were off the charts. He responded to sounds most dogs ignored. He tracked movements behind walls. "This isn't a normal pup," Lydia whispered to her assistant. "This might not be explainable." Then, on the 3rd night, the clinic's motion sensors were triggered. The footage? Disturbing. At 2:11 a.m., the lights flickered. The pup stood on his own before the others could even crawl. And then he pointed toward the locked front door. 10 seconds later, alarms blared. The lock had disengaged itself. No one was there. The pup didn't move. He just kept staring. This was no ordinary birth. And what followed next would shake even seasoned K9 handlers, researchers, and the town itself. And the real question wasn't what he was, but why he was here. A 5-day-old pup wasn't supposed to stand, let alone walk. Yet there he was, on his feet in a locked veterinary kennel at 3:11 a.m., staring straight into a security camera with eyes that shouldn't have been open at all. The door opened. No one was there. The pup didn't flinch. Dr. Lydia Hayes, 15 years in K9 genetics, didn't know what to make of it. She'd helped deliver this litter from one of the most elite police service dogs in the state. But this 6th pup was unlike anything she'd seen. He was alert far too early. His vitals were strong, strangely strong. His coat had a faint silver hue under certain light. Not albino, not gray, something in between. But it was his gaze that disturbed her most. He didn't look at you. He looked into you. By morning, the staff had dubbed him Axel. She didn't name him. He responded to it anyway. When Lydia reviewed the footage with her assistant, a chill ran through the room. There was no sign of the lock being broken, no human in the frame. Just that single moment when the door unlatched on its own, and the tiniest pup stepped out like he knew what he was doing. This wasn't behavior. This was intent. She called Dr. Marcus Doyle, a renowned K9 behaviorist. Not a call she made lightly. Marcus arrived that evening. He watched Axel for less than a minute before saying, "This isn't instinct. He's operating with awareness." When he bent down, Axel pressed his forehead into his palm, then walked away without looking back. "He knows," Marcus muttered. "Whatever he is, he knows more than we do." Tests followed. Blood work, reflex analysis, immune response checks. Results were baffling. White cell levels were abnormally high. But there was no inflammation. Viral resistance was beyond anything on record. Even Marcus, who had once worked on a government K9 enhancement program, had no precedent. "This pup doesn't just survive," he said. "He adapts." The question wasn't what Axel was. It was why he existed. At just 4 weeks old, he was unlocking simple doors. At 5, he started responding to human emotion, sitting quietly beside anyone who was in pain. No training, no cues, just instinct. But the incident that changed everything happened in silence. It was 2:13 a.m. The power flickered at Lydia's home. The smoke alarm let out a single beep and died. She might have slept through it, but Axel jumped onto bed and pressed his nose to her chest, whining sharply. She woke up gasping, the air thick and stale. Her furnace was leaking carbon monoxide. Had he smelled it? Maybe. Had he known it would kill her? That's what terrified her. She moved him into her home permanently. 2 weeks later, local authorities launched a search for a missing child. A 5-mile radius was covered with officers, dogs, drones. Axel was never part of the team. But that morning, he vanished from Lydia's backyard. Hours later, an officer found Axel barking at the edge of a ravine, tail still, body rigid. Below, clinging to a fallen log, was a child, barely conscious, hypothermic. How did he know? Lydia never found out. But when the boy's mother arrived to thank her, she said something Lydia never forgot. I dreamed of him. Last night, those same eyes, staring at me. Soon after, the media got wind. Headlines read, Miracle K9 saves local child. Angel dog or something more. Lydia declined interviews. She didn't want Axel to become a circus act, but that didn't stop others from watching. One night, a black SUV pulled up across the street. 2 men waited. They didn't knock. They just observed. The next morning, her back gate was open, but Axel hadn't run. He'd waited. His teeth were bloodied. Whatever or whoever had come inside hadn't stayed long. Marcus came back with Axel's full genetic report. There were anomalies. One marker had no known match, not canine, not wild, not even cataloged. But it was stable. In fact, it seemed optimized. He's not evolving, Marcus said. He's already evolved. No diseases, no fear, no confusion, just calm. And something else, awareness of danger before it arrived. That's when Lydia realized Axel was never meant to be a pet, or even a working dog. He was meant for something bigger. But as she could figure out, others could too. And not everyone would be kind. That night, Lydia packed Axel's things quietly. Not because she didn't want him, but because she couldn't protect him anymore. He sat by the door waiting, as if he already knew where they needed to go. And just as they stepped outside, a faint, low hum filled the air. Above the tree line, a single red light blinked, hovering, then gone. Axel didn't bark. He just stared, watching. Dr. Lydia hadn't told anyone where she was going, not even Marcus. After that night, after the red light above the trees, she had packed a single bag, taken Axel, and driven out of town before sunrise. She didn't head toward anyone she knew. She just kept driving. Axel never whined, never barked. He simply sat beside her, eyes fixed ahead, like he understood what was at stake. By the 3rd hour of driving, she stopped at a gas station outside a farming town. As she walked Axel along the edge of a field, something strange happened. A stray dog, a large, muscular one, charged at them from behind the building. But Axel didn't run. He didn't even move. He locked eyes with the dog, and it skidded to a halt halfway through its sprint. Confused, breathing heavy. Then it lowered its head, not in fear, in submission. Lydia pulled Axel away slowly, unsure what she had just witnessed. But it wouldn't be the last time. They found shelter at an old friend's ranch, an animal sanctuary Lydia had volunteered at years ago. The place was quiet, remote, no internet, no security cameras, just open land, barns, and animals. Perfect, she thought, until the horses started acting strange. They refused to enter the barn when Axel was inside, not out of aggression, but reverence. They'd stop, lower their heads, and wait, as if waiting for permission. Then came the birds. Each morning, flocks would land around the property, but never where Axel slept. They avoided him, but never seemed afraid. It wasn't fear. It was respect. 3 days in, Marcus showed up. He didn't call, didn't text, just appeared. You changed your license plates, he said calmly, but you forgot your vet tags. I followed those. Lydia should have been angry, but she wasn't. She just asked, "Did anyone else follow you?" "No," he said. "Not yet." He sat on the porch with Axel, watched him chase the wind, pause at strange intervals, as if listening to something far off. Then Marcus said something Lydia hadn't expected. "You know what this reminds me of?" "What?" "Those stories from old military units, about dogs who sense bombs, ambushes, even fear. But one in particular." He leaned forward. There was a dog in 95, Black Shepherd, born in an experimental K9 unit that got shut down before he was 2. They called him Zero. Lydia raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Because he was the start of something. A dog that didn't just follow orders. He predicted them. He knew where to go, who to follow, what to do. And what happened to him? Marcus hesitated. He disappeared. The entire unit did. File sealed. But the way Axel moves, I've only seen it once. In the old footage, it's the same. Later that evening, as Lydia and Marcus talked in the barn, Axel stood outside staring toward the tree-line. Then he barked. Just once. But it was enough. Lydia stepped out. The sky was darkening fast. A faint sound, a car engine, echoed in the distance. "Did you tell anyone?" she asked Marcus. "No." Then they found him another way. She turned to Axel. "What do we do?" Axel walked to the gate and sat, waiting. The car didn't arrive that night. But the next morning, someone left a package at the gate. Inside was a flash drive and a single note. "We're not the only ones looking. Protect him or lose him." Lydia and Marcus opened the drive on an old laptop, isolated from any network. It contained footage grainy, time-stamped, from a lab she didn't recognize. A young German shepherd, metal collar, electrodes, tests, shock conditioning, maze trials, DNA splicing, voice training without commands. At the end of the file, a still photo, a litter of pups, all but one marked terminated. The one marked viable looked exactly like Axel, but the timestamp? 7 years ago. Axel wasn't just rare. He wasn't even supposed to be alive. According to this data, the breeding project had failed. All specimens had died or were destroyed. So who had hidden his final pup? And more importantly, why was he born years later? Marcus had a theory. Cryogenic storage, he said. Artificial embryo implantation into an unsuspecting surrogate. It's possible. I've seen attempts. But why now? Lydia asked. Why him? What's the purpose? Marcus looked her in the eye. Maybe he wasn't meant to live. Maybe he was meant to wait. That evening, Axel disappeared. They searched for hours, called his name, checked barns, fences, fields. But he was nowhere until Marcus found him half a mile from the house, sitting at the edge of a dried-up creek bed. He was staring at something buried in the mud. When they dug it up, they found metal, a box, sealed, no markings. Inside, a folded map, 2 syringes, a metal tag labeled A01, and a photo. The photo was blurry, but it showed a man in military uniform, holding a black German shepherd pup. The eyes were unmistakable. But the face of the man, Lydia recognized it. He had visited her clinic once, a year before Axel was born. He said he was scouting for future K9 prospects. She thought he was just another officer. She never saw him again. Until now. They followed the map the next morning. It led to an abandoned building miles away, a crumbling structure covered in vines, boarded windows, and rusted signage that had long since faded. But Axel knew the way. He walked ahead. No hesitation. Inside, they found empty rooms, torn wires, smashed terminals. But the basement had power. A single light, flickering, leading them to a metal door. When they opened it, they found a chamber filled with dust-covered crates and folders, and a single working monitor. It turned on as soon as Axel stepped into the room. A voice came through the speaker. "If you're seeing this, the prototype has survived. That was never the plan." Lydia froze. Marcus leaned in. The voice continued. He wasn't built for companionship, not for search, not for protection. He was built to sense what machines can't. He's the bridge between instinct and intelligence, between chaos and control. Axel sat in front of the monitor, still, silent. The voice finished. "If you've raised him, he's already chosen you. But be warned, others will come. They'll want him back. But he doesn't belong to them anymore." They destroyed the lab, burned it to the ground, and as the smoke rose into the sky, Axel looked back only once, not with fear, with understanding. He knew who he was. And now, so did they. The wind howled as a German shepherd stood still at the edge of the ruins, his nose twitching. He had followed a scent trail no human could detect. It wasn't just a trail of a man, It was a scent of fear and something older, something strange. He padded silently into the dense brush. The forest floor felt wrong, too soft in places, as though hollow underneath. When he came across a symbol carved into a tree, blackened and deep, he paused. His ears perked, and he let out a low growl. From behind, Ava and Elias emerged from the fog. They had followed at a distance, but the German shepherd's behavior made them stop cold. "What's he found?" Elias whispered. "Trouble," Ava muttered. The German shepherd suddenly turned and darted forward, growling louder now. He led them through a wall of thorns and overgrown vines until they came upon a clearing, with what looked like a sunken entrance to an underground bunker. The dog stood firmly at the door, refusing to move, staring at them as if demanding they open it. They forced the hatch open and descended into Forgotten Lab, dust-filled, power flickering, and files scattered everywhere. In the dim light, the German shepherd moved ahead, sniffing out rooms, stopping only when he found a shattered containment unit. Elias knelt beside it. "This was for him," he said, pointing at the size and construction. "They built this to hold him, or something like him." The shepherd began pawing at a dusty drawer. Ava opened to find stacks of labeled files marked Project Echo K9. Failure Evolution, with photos of similar dogs, but none had survived past infancy. Only this one had lived. Footsteps echoed. Someone else was here. The dog spun around, snarling. The door slammed shut behind them, and they weren't alone. The sound of sirens faded in the distance. Authorities had finally found the abandoned facility and evacuated Ava, Elias, and the others. But as rescue crews examined the ruined lab, the German shepherd sat quietly near the exit, unmoving, eyes fixed on the last chamber they'd uncovered. Inside that chamber was a final piece of the puzzle, an embryo tank. Still humming, still operational. Ava and Elias stood beside him, staring at the softly glowing glass. The markings read, Project Echo K9, Phase 2 Guardian Line. This wasn't just about one dog, Elias said quietly. They were planning more. But the German shepherd didn't move. His expression wasn't fear. It was recognition. He had come from this place, and he was protecting them from it. Suddenly, a low beeping echoed from a console, a countdown, automatic, a built-in destruction sequence triggered by the chamber's breach. They had 60 seconds. Elias bolted toward the controls, shouting, "We can override it. We can save the data." Ava stayed behind, watching the German shepherd. He looked at her, not as a dog, but as something more, something aware, a guardian, just like the label said. And then he ran, into the chamber, toward the core. Ava screamed, chasing after him, but the door slammed shut. Through the glass, she saw him place his paw gently on the control panel, just before the light engulfed everything. The blast was contained. The facility didn't collapse. And the countdown stopped. But the German shepherd was gone. Gone, yet not forgotten. Back at the shelter, weeks later, Ava stood silently at the door. Dozens of people had come by, asking about the story, about the dog. She had told them everything. And one morning, as she stepped out to feed the other animals, she found a small black-furred puppy curled on the steps. Not tagged, not chipped, just waiting. It looked up at her with familiar amber eyes and wagged its tail.